Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of Hamilton Icons. Today, we are joined by two super special guests. We're joined by Lucas Costanzo, who is the Regional Sales Manager for Gerber. As well, we are also joined by Steve Zecchin, who is the Manager at Emco Hamilton. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate you doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Couple paisans in the studio, dressed nice and sharp today. We're gonna look good. We're gonna look good.
I love it. I have a ton of questions for you guys, but before I get into it, I got to do a shameless plug. Copies of my book just came out, The Sold Formula, How to Sell Your Home for More in Any Market. If you're thinking of buying or selling in Hamilton, be sure to reach out. Now let's get into this interview. I've been excited for this. This is the first time that I've had two people on the podcast at the same time.
Yeah, we're like a package.
It's true. Well, yeah, it's, what's nice about it is that, Steve and I, obviously two different positions, but we work very closely together. I actually worked for Emco for 9 years. It was Steve that actually got me introduced to the company when I was still at McMaster. So it kind of a full circle. So we never actually had the opportunity to work together during my time at Emco, but now it's been great because we've been able to work, hand in hand in a lot of really awesome opportunities throughout the city.
So when you were still at McMaster, that's you were at Mac too,
Yeah.
right? Were you working? Did you graduate before Lucas?
Oh, yeah. 2 years prior.
2 years.
Graduated, 2012.
Okay.
So, Lucas, what were you?
I had graduated in 2015. We connected actually just through our Italian professor at the time.
Okay, wasn't the McMaster Italian Associate?
Oh, so what happened was I had my Italian professor reach out and said, listen, I know this guy. He's got an Italian radio show on campus. You're the president of McMaster Italian Association. Would you want to go and chat? And I thought, first thing I thought was, like, my Italian is brutal. And I would be so embarrassed. I hope that would be... First, I didn't think he could speak English. I didn't know. So I was thinking, you don't know what's going to happen here, right? So anyways, we connected there. I was a guest on this show. And before long, we got to chatting. And, we got really a lot more acquainted. We found out what I was doing while I was in university. I was working actually in the construction department as a student there. And he thought about, what are you thinking of doing once you finish school? And he said, have you thought about Emco? And I said, what is Emco? And I thought, well, Emco is, like, is this like a Home Depot? Is this like a Lowe's? Is there something like a big buy? And he said, no, it's a wholesaler. And I said, okay, well, I've dealt with wholesalers now on my, in my role at the university ordering for the trades there. And I thought, well, let's try it out. I ended up getting offered the job for Emco after my last exam. I was on the HSR bus home. I didn't even have a car yet. I had to get an offer. And the offer said, okay, well, can you come up and sign the documents and everything? And I said, great. And I said, well, how soon can you get here? And I'm on the bus and I'm like, okay, I got to make a transfer. Give me about an hour and a half and I'll get there. So I get there sweating after an exam with my backpack, a laptop in there, sign the document. And first thing I thought was, I got to buy a car. I got to get a car here. Yeah, this is not going to work. So, the rest is history. Leading up to that, I joined the radio show. Steve was visiting family for a month. And then he said, do you mind running it for a month on your own? And I was initially hesitant, but before you knew it, I became DJ Luca with VJ Stefano, and 95.3 CFME radio became a real hit and really something for us to look forward to every Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and you guys spoke Italian on it mainly, right?
He spoke Italian.
Okay.
Yeah, he spoke Italian. I spoke English. And I threw a few things in there, some isms, I throw a few,
little calabrese in there,
yeah, a few dialect words, a few, English Italian hybrid words in there, right? That I would have thought at that time were real, and then it's just like, no, they're not real.
No. Yeah, it's like just the slang we put on them in North America, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was great. We had a lot of fun with it, and so I've actually stepped away from the show. Steve is still running strong with it now. How many years has it been?
11. 11 years, yeah.
Smokes. That's how long ago we were in university.
I know.
More than that.
More than that, because it was
11.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, it's dating us quite a bit. Now it's been longer outside of university than in, you know what I mean? Like we're like now like
Rolled
over a few times, and think about high school. High school is like half our life. Yeah. You think when you were in high school, you think you're at the top. You're like, oh, and then now you're like, it lives the second life.
Both you guys are older than me, so yes, technically.
Yeah, we go. Yeah,
I'm okay. I have a few more years, but yeah, it's okay.
You're the first family man.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, that's that. that grows you up pretty quick. Having a few kids, it makes you if you weren't responsible before, you should definitely become it. And it's a wonderful thing to have a family, a young family too. You know, your kids, you look at them, and when your parents tell you this before about you know, having kids and treating them as if they're guinea pigs, especially the first, you don't know what you're doing. So, you know, people will always ask you, are you ready? Well,
no, never. Right?
So you say you're ready. You have the nursery all set up. You painted it nice. You've got everything in the right space. Everything's clean. It smells nice in the house. You go to the hospital. Baby's delivered. You start to cry. You don't know what to do. And it's a bit of joy, a bit of fear. And I remember that the scariest part of everything was that drive home from the hospital. I was sweating.
Yeah.
And it was actually 3 years ago last week that my daughter was born. And I was hands to the steering wheel, 10 and 2. And my wife says, you can go above 30 kilometers an hour. You know that, right? We could have made that light, and we could have made that light. You could have turned now. And I missed her. I was just so terrified.
Did something happen? Or?
Well, I know. Yeah, she was in the car. Maybe was in the car. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was still, at this point, I was still afraid to hold her too.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where, not that I had a ton of practice holding on to babies in the past, but it was, you know, when it's your own, it's different altogether. And it puts a lot of perspective in your day-to-day life. You know, we're all going to work. We're all putting in, you know, many hours a day to support our spouses, our families, and, you know, we're hoping that we're lucky enough to be here at a ripe old age to enjoy some of the money that we're hopefully stocking away now. I always joke that maybe one day I'll be living in Florida, nice and wrinkly, playing some shuffleboard.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
Yes.
That's the dream, yeah. Yeah, wearing all pastels with a nice fedora hat there. I think I could pull it off.
Yeah. I love it. You've already got it planned out now. That's it. Had the kids. Now we're already on to Florida.
That's it.
That's perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, like, you have an interesting story too, because you actually came over from Italy recently. Like, I thought you were born and raised here until I found out that you weren't, because your lack of accent is.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah.
It comes and goes.
I think
it goes.
Well, we think
It's not even consistent.
I hear it.
We sound, I don't know. They throw like, because it's there, but it's sort of a different. It's not like the classic Italian accent. So be like, where's he from? It's a little weird.
You know what? I've never noticed the accent.
No,
No.
That's probably because it's
Maybe I have an accent. I just hear it too. I don't know.
Who knows? No, but for officially, moved here for university, right? In 2008. So that was, I think I'm on my midpoint. So I've spent the same amount of time in Italy as I have in Canada. And it's funny because I was talking about this with someone else. So in Canada, I'm the Italian guy. In Italy, I'm the Canadian guy. So who am I really, right? Yeah, it says that identity. Yeah, it's like, it's a mixture, right? I'm on an island.
Yeah.
And, but it's very exciting, right? To me, I have a soft spot for any immigrant story. Like my immigrant story is very different from my grandparents, which enabled me to come here because my mom was initially born here and then moved back to when she met my dad. And I came here for university because, I had to do a citizenship because my mom was born here, right? Even though all the grandparents are Italian, but nobody can stand still.
Yeah.
And the reason why I came here is because my grandparents were, in particular my grandma, my nonna, who, took me in like a son, right?
Yeah.
And she, she took, I was living in the 70s. I came from Italy, come to Canada, and when I was, living with her, it was just like, those same values as our parents grew up in. I was living them again. You know what I mean?
Steve was the king. He'd come home and everything was maintained. He literally walked into his house and automatically became 1957.
Yeah. It was, yeah. And everyone has their role, right?
Yeah.
Whatever they got to do. And, but I appreciate that a lot. And she would share all the stories, right? As far as what they had to go through and the opportunities that we were given because of it. And I wasn't even supposed to stay here that long. I was supposed to graduate, get back, and start a life. And then, back in 2012 when I graduated, we're still getting through the whole recession in Europe. Italy was doing pretty bad. And so I got a job at Emco selling plumbing. So I would have thought I was selling toilets.
Yeah.
13 years later, right? Gerber toilets.
Gerber toilets, I know.
And but it's been a fun journey for sure. You meet such incredible people. Like I said, there's so many immigrant stories and so many people with different backgrounds and of course, again, I have a soft spot for the Italian immigrant stories as well, because I've lived close to one through my grandparents, and there's a lot of, you could relate to one another, and it's like I love, even when you go see comedies or comedians, their stuff is so funny because we've all lived it. Doesn't matter which nonna, they're all pulling the same stuff, right? And it's special. I think it's very special, and it connects us. And with Lucas, it's funny. Beyond the whole Italian community aspect or your network, one thing that I really loved, and that's any culture, any group that is well connected, they support one another, right? I find that in a wonderful country like Canada, where the opportunities are there, it makes a difference when a guy or you have someone that vouches for you, that it makes life easier on both sides, a win-win, because now it's like, listen, I know for a fact that if you say this guy's a good guy, he's going to be reliable, he's going to be trustworthy, and he's going to do a good job, because otherwise I'm coming back to you and like, what are you doing, right? And it makes life easier on both sides. Everyone lifts each other up, and we get ahead, and it feels good, right? It feels good to help one another, right? So now that Lucas is running the show at Gerber, which is one of our suppliers, we get to help each other out, which is a lot of fun, right?
No.
Business is great, but then when you get to share, great moments, and you do it because you wanna see each other succeed. His success is my success. Like, it's fun. It's not work, which is we're very. I mean, I find myself very fortunate. We'll see what Lucas says after this, but. So this guy's busting me, asking me for this toilet again. What is it? What? But it does make a difference for sure.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Like, so you moved over to Gerber, I guess, which is a job that spun out of working with Emco originally. So Gerber, we're not talking about the baby food. We're not talking about
baby food. Yeah, no, it's
clarify it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Gerber's actually been a long-standing partner of Emco. So just going to provide some clarification on the Emco piece. Emco is a large wholesaler distribution company based in Canada, in Ontario, 35 locations across Ontario, and Gerber in Ontario predominantly sells to Emcos. 80% of our distribution for Gerber is sold throughout Emcos in Ontario. And what's really great about the product offering and the relationship side is that there's a lot of value proposition pieces that align well between the Emco model and what Gerber offers. I think for me, when I was, thinking about making the switch, I had been with Emco for 9 years. Like I said, first job right out of university, which was fantastic. Taught me a lot of great things about how to really kind of channel my inner entrepreneurial spirit, and Emco really does that well. And I think for me, when I was thinking about leaving, I thought, well, wherever I decide to go, I want to find it somewhere that understands the importance of what we've been trying to build. The importance of relationships, which are key, and try to find a company that aligns well with the companies that I've worked with. And so there was really no greater fit than Gerber. So it's been fantastic working with Steve. It's been fantastic working with a lot of Emco locations across Ontario. And the really big piece to this is, especially in the economic times that we find ourselves in, we're always looking for the next best thing, the next best item to purchase, and we're all selling the same things. If you think about it, we're all selling that one widget. That could be a certain price for one, a certain price for another. It comes down to relationship. Who do you trust? Who do you lean in and depend on? And for us, I think the relationship works really, really well. When it comes to the product offering, you'll find that a lot of folks in the community now, builders, developers, are looking for cost savings. It's a sign of the times. And they're looking to find something that looks great, that works well. So you're not diminishing quality, you're getting a better price point, and you're getting that serviceability long term. So people will often say that you can't get all three of those things, but with Gerber you can. So with the product offering that we have, the service that we provide, the coverage that we provide long term, and the partners that we have really make it a unique package that I think we're just. In my mind, at a tipping point now where I think we're going to see a lot of positive momentum beyond 25 into 26 and further from there.
Oh, that's awesome. And then do you want to clarify what Emco is?
Yeah, of course. So Emco is a plumbing wholesaler. So we I like to say anything that deals with water, if it's got water through it, we'll sell it. And to what Lucas was saying, we're a little bit different from our competitors because we're very decentralized. What that means that every location acts independently, and so we can cater to whatever market. We can cater to the customer in Hamilton that may steer in a certain direction, may require a certain type of products, and we customize our offering to them. It's kind of your own business, right? Which taps into the entrepreneurial mindset that Emco. That's why they hire for those that are thinking in that aspect. And so we will sell anything from what's behind any wall to what you see as far as the decorative plumbing, right? With your faucet toilets, which was people more aware and accustomed to, but anything behind the wall, valves, pipe fittings, we'll sell as well. So that's why we normally sell to plumbers, contractors, builders, institutions, and a little bit of retail, but the majority is B2B. And with the C at the end, but we have a showroom as well that does tap into more retail. But again, we're very well diversified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the showroom's beautiful, right? It was really, you have really knowledgeable people there as well. Laura being one of them, Laura Trepetta. I think she's our manager there, and she's been there for over 8 years, and so we build some pretty strong experience in that business. So that's another thing that we like to say, we're all about problem solving, really identifying solutions for our customers. We're not there just to order fill. We're there to provide the best solution for you, even through the Gerber brand, which does fit a lot of those marks, right? So. Yeah, and it's refreshing to see that service. When you go to a big box store now, if I walk into a Home Depot and need something, good luck trying to find somebody. And then if they don't know, they might have general knowledge, but not. I remember back in the day, they probably were more knowledgeable than they are these days. But I find now going to a specialty store like yourself, having somebody I couldn't believe this. Laura was just so knowledgeable about it. It was crazy. So.
Well, think about it. You do that.
Yeah. That's true.
You get exposed to it, and you deal with the experts, right? So you're dealing with the manufacturers. We're the in between, right? So we bring the manufacturer and we connect them to the end user, and so we get the training and the support from those technical individuals that work for the manufacturers, but as well the plumbers that do it. They apply a lot of this knowledge in their installation, and they provide us with more insights and guidance as well, right? Because we don't install it. People's like, "Oh, can you install it?" No, we're not. No, I'm not gonna go and install a shower. Some people do it. Personally, I'm not there yet. Yeah. But don't risk that. I could call some people.
Very dangerous.
Yeah. When you know someone, here's the thing: you gotta know where to call it, right? Yeah. How much is it? How much is it worth your time?
Yeah.
This is just it. I think we've come to a certain point now in society where we want things quickly. And we would trade service for, that you snap your fingers and you have what you have. So you go to Home Depot, you find something on a shelf. Okay, the price works great. You don't know if it's a great part or not. It just happens to catch your eye. And the same thing applies across the board in all retail. Not that it's bad. I think it's good. It's a sign of the times that you need to have those items. But what people miss is that relationship piece. Who can I call to help me with this problem? Right? Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks that, we can be all these DIY heroes and try to do a million parts on our own. But when you align with a partner, with a company that values, your experience from start to finish, even if it's an experience where you had issues with the product, you want to know that you're being taken care of. And I think people really yearn for that. I actually think following COVID, it became a lot more pronounced that people really wanted that interaction. They missed it. It's become a lot easier now to be able to communicate with a lot of folks. And I think COVID did teach us a way to be able to work and communicate in a different sense. But I do think the importance to have those touch points, in-person touch points, make all the difference. For yourself, Justin, you're a real estate agent. There's so many agents around that are saying, I can sell your home. So what do you provide that's different? So that's why everyone has to go and read Justin's book, and he tells you why. There you go. So, but that's just it. Why? How do you set yourself apart from the crowd, right? And that's what we're trying to do here. So, we have a really unique experience between the two of us being friends and working together on business opportunities to develop the brand awareness on the Gerber Fixture side. So, yes, we're selling toilets, we're selling China products, we're selling faucets, but these are the beautiful pieces of a home that people remember, and they're enamored by the finishes that come with the home. And today, again, everyone is competing to make sure that whatever they're purchasing, the value of that home, they want to make sure that they've exuded the purchase price. They say, if I bought this for $700,000, it better be worth $700,000, right? So you need to find those opportunities. So I think it's very positive across the board.
Well, that is important stuff, right? Like, you got to think, every day I use a toilet, faucet, shower, right?
Sure.
Why not have a nice one? I think people underestimate it. Something you're using, I think, believe if you're doing something, you're using something a lot, why not make it enjoyable? Which is why I know you guys have, I was looking at some impressive toilets at your place. Like, oh my God, does Gerber do
We don't, and you know what? And I'll be honest with you, I'm actually some of the automated,
The intelligent toilets.
they scare me a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, they're great. I mean, I anybody who wants to be able to spend that, like, it's a different target market that you're going after when you put those into your place. Something with electronics and flushing water, it just makes me a little bit nervous. Yeah, like, I don't know if I really need Wi-Fi on the toilet, but the heated components are quite good. I probably just wouldn't need the washroom.
Yeah.
But it's true. These are things that you don't think much of, and people will find that a toilet, especially if you have a young family. I don't mean to get vulgar in this, but toilets, they are the single source of overwater consumption. So if things are not working, or so if the flapper in an actual tank is not operating properly, it's letting go a certain amount of water at any given time of the day, and then all of a sudden you get your $1,000 water bill. Parts are very important, because if you buy a toilet that might be in the $100 range from, let's say, a big box store, and it's a brand that's not overly recognized, you can't get parts if it breaks. So people want something that is durable, that's affordable, and has a warranty. You don't want to have to be dealing with issues. No one wants to touch their toilet more than touching the handle. So how do you make it easy for them? And how do you make it an experience where it fits the decor, right? So, you have to
It's a
make
big
it
deal.
It's a big deal, right?
Until it doesn't work.
I like what you
Exactly.
The moment it doesn't work,
Yeah.
like, my life is like, what am I doing? Right?
People panic more so initially when they get that water bill.
Yeah.
Something is wrong.
Exactly.
And they can't find a part, or it's obscure, or they have to order. It takes 3 weeks, and their answer most times is, "I'm just going to buy a new toilet. I can't wait." Right? So you want to be able to have that pitch of whatever you're going to buy and put in your house, make sure it can last. Or and if there's a reason to repair it, make sure you can get a part for it. You don't want to have to be searching for some obscure piece that you can't find, right?
Yeah, I learned that with certain appliances, like Samsung, I've had in the past, and like stuff breaks on it, and they apparently have this consistent issue with their ice makers in them, and I've had three and all three of them, the ice makers have gone, right? And everybody's like, don't buy a Samsung, but every house I've bought has had Samsung in it, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna buy a new fridge, let's wait. Right? Okay, do you measure the flush size by golf balls at Gerber?
We do. Well, so
How did that come? Like, how did that become a unit of measurement? Because I go to and like box store stuff, you see it, they can flush like 14 golf balls.
Right. So it goes by weight. So they use golf balls as an example there, but it goes by a certain rating that the industry standard is to be around 1,000 grams. Now, truthfully, for someone to expel 1,000 grams,
so tough.
It's pretty difficult to do so. But if you do have that individual that has a bad day, you have to be able to to clear that bowl, keep it clean, and to carry it. So clean, carry the three C's that Gerber really focuses on. And that's, we joke about it, it's hilarious, right? You think about flushing 1,000 grams of matter down, and it's disgusting. but when you think about that, the carry piece is extremely important, because there's certain codes that have to be met up, especially in situations where you have apartments, individuals that have toilets that are low consumption, water consumption, to support buildings that are paying for water bills and not passing them off to the tenants. So you have to be very well made aware that carry is extremely important. It needs to be able to clear that line. The clean portion, no one wants stains in the bowl. That's, anybody who has a toilet that, it leaves marks, you've got guests coming over, it's more of a source of embarrassment if that's an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want them to eat, and you want to be able to clear that bowl on that first flush. I know Justin's that.
No, I'm still dying of the. I'm still dying of the 1,000 grams. I'd be more embarrassed to go to somebody's house and leave 1,000 grams.
If you can't clear it, if the Gerber can't clear, you might want to skip back.
Yeah, as a joke. So when I was working on the Emco side, customers would come in and they'd say, "What toilets do you recommend?" So Gerber has a product called the Gerber Viper toilet. It's a step above from the entry level, and it holds 15-year warranty. And it's the toilet that I would always recommend for folks that have, heavy use in their home. Whether they've got kids, whether you've got tenants, you want to take advantage of the warranty if you need to get parts. And if you need a toilet that can take the abuse, that's the toilet you put in there, hands down. It's bulletproof. Yeah. And I know it's hilarious to think about in these, but when you're thinking about that, people say, okay, fine, I'll spend a little bit extra and I'll buy that toilet because I don't want any issues. Yeah, I don't have to be worrying about having that plunger and having to clear a clog. And if I have to, it clears and away we go.
And it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
A nice flush, powerful flush.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It feels good. I mean, like if you want to think about those times where you've had, a situation where you've had to use a washroom and you press that lever handle and that water level rises slowly and you start to sweat and you're thinking, oh boy, this is not good.
Mm-hmm.
What if this doesn't clear the bowl or clean it properly? Right? It's, you're afraid. So the good news is on the Gerber side, you will never have that problem. So if you have a bad day of 1,000 grams, go to a doctor first. But if you can't, you have to use the toilet, it'll clear it. And it'll be okay.
I love the direction of the way this podcast is done.
Yeah.
Well, what we talk about toilets and faucets. Things don't, people don't necessarily put a lot of emphasis on toilets, and it's in the background. But there's a lot of importance. There's a lot of financial opportunities for folks to be able to save money by putting in certain products that certain municipalities will offer rebates, and then there's obviously the savings on the maintenance side and on the water consumption side there. So for a lot of multi-use properties that, again, are paying for the water bill. And we know that obviously water consumption is huge, and it's one of the biggest expenses in home ownership or building ownership. We've got some great products that align well, that fit the criteria that needs to be met. And the homeowner or builder or landlord of the building there can really reap the benefits.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. And so does Gerber do direct to consumer?
They do not.
Okay,
so it's all through.
Somebody would go through somebody like Steve at Emco.
Yes, so you have to go through a wholesaler. So it's been always marketed as the plumber's brand. So if you take a look at some of our packaging, you'll see the cardboard finish, and that's where we differ from the retail side of some of those pretty pictures that might be displayed on some boxes. We take the frills out of the packaging and say, this is what the plumber will recommend and needs to install. But you open the box and you see that, whether it's a faucet or a toilet, everything is very durable. It comes with all the pieces that you'll need. The finishes on the faucets are incredible, and the price point is where it needs to be. So our goal has always been to align the plumber and make them feel comfortable, because if a plumber is going to come to you and tell you that this is what I recommend, chances are you're going to go with it. Mm-hmm. If they're comfortable with it, they're confident in the approach, that's what they're going to stand behind.
That's true. Because a lot of people rely on the trades that are coming in, right, to make the recommendation on, like some people like to be more involved, but I think a lot of people, obviously, if a contractor's like, I put a lot of these in, never had issues with them, then you're like, okay, that's the brand to go with, right? And especially if there's a good warranty, like a 15-year warranty on it, that's a really good warranty.
Right.
Yeah. Lifetime on the faucets.
Lifetime apparatus on the faucets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Very, very, very strong warranty package, and we are top tier, if not industry leading, especially on the toilet piece. So we have a number of different collections. Maxwell is your entry level builder grade. So you'll see actually in Hamilton, quite a few homes have the Gerber Maxwell line in their washrooms. The next up above would be the Viper line, which carries a 15-year warranty, and beyond there's more of a decorative finish as you get into the one-piece toilets, and they all carry a 15-year warranty, which is above industry standard.
So if I get the Viper line toilet, will it say Viper on it?
It will.
Oh, it says Gerber on it there. I don't know if it'll actually. No, it wouldn't say Viper necessarily
on the toilet.
On the toilet, it would.
No, not on the toilet.
No, but if you lift the tank, they'll have the monitor there. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be more impressed if somebody walks into my bathroom and they're like, "Oh, I didn't do anything right."
You walk in and say, "I'm going to Viper. It flushes 1,000 golf balls. Try it. Do what you got to do, right?"
Yeah. Dude.
Well, yeah, no. So it's more about the quality, the finish, the internal components, and just the sheer manufacturing capabilities of those tools that allow it to have that certain carry distance on the plumbing line. You think about it too. A lot of homes, even in the Hamilton area, have aging infrastructure. Some of them have older cast iron lines that have been, pretty well gunked up over the years. So you want something that will be able to push through, right? Issues that we run into is that you'll find certain brands will meet the price point, the look will be great, but when you go to flush, and if you've got some aging infrastructure there, it doesn't meet that code requirement. So you need to be very careful, especially in some of those larger investments where you're looking to get the maintenance savings and the water consumption savings there.
No, that's good. And like you said about Hamilton, there's a lot of like aging plumbing in Hamilton, and then because I see it, especially like older homes, Easters they're always having issues, right, with their water or like the old plumbing stuff like that. So I mean, that's good. So you are you deal a lot of Gerber. What do you guys sell a lot of? Like, what do you find people mostly come? Do you do like full bathroom outfits, or is there like a certain product that you have that somebody's like, oh, we do a lot of these?
It's a good question because, so like I said, we do a lot of everything, right? So we're very diversified. We've been selling a lot more to hospitals. We're selling a lot more for like high-rise projects because the residential market just got smaller, right? But when it comes to the residential piece, there's been more custom homes. So that's what we've seen a positive trend in. But yeah, we'll do like from the 1 bathroom to, like I said, 3 bathroom, 2 kitchen, laundry, and so on and so forth, right? I think the market varies dramatically. And it has, again, since COVID. COVID really, created a melting pot of different factors that are trying to lift us, bring it down, lift us, right? And so really like the ability to be nimble and versatile, which goes back to the whole decentralized model, right? We really understand what are the trends and we allocate resources towards them. Or even, same products, like with Gerber, you go, maybe it's property management, right? We talked about the serviceability, the fact there's all these older buildings that require quality products that are reliable. So you shift your focus. There's not much going on from a builder standpoint right now. We thought we were going to see something moving by Q3, might be more Q1 of 2026. A lot of the pieces are coming together this year, but I don't think the builders are going to be putting up foundations until next year potentially, right? That's generally speaking what we're seeing in Hamilton. And so you can't wait. You can't just wait, let's see what happens 6 months, right? You got to be constantly on the lookout. That's part of the game, right? Those that succeed are those that are able to adapt. That ability is a key part of anything in life, whether it's professionally or personally. But, that'll bring something up to the group here, like plumbing, right? Like from a real estate standpoint, I find that as I got exposed to it more recently, getting into new homes and such, find that plumbing is like in some places the last thing they do. And to me, and again, I'm biased, right? And so it's really hard for me to understand because to Lucas's point, like a lot of things can go wrong with plumbing that you would be paying for. You might not pay it today. And so, I don't know if you find you being in your world of dealing with different people, like, what do you think plumbing is something that sometimes gets overlooked?
The plumbing like always gets overlooked, like shower fixtures, faucets on sinks. So it always gets overlooked. And it's like, usually we'll see, okay, if somebody does a bathroom, they'll do it. Smart people will just like, if you don't want to renovate your bathroom, we'll just change out some of the fixtures, right? Instead of doing a full reno, that makes a huge impact. But yeah, people don't really think of doing, I find, stuff like that unless they're going forward with the renovation. Obviously, like you said, you're biased about it, right? Because you had really nice plumbing fixtures in your place. But, a lot of people, they do overlook it for sure. I don't know. I think because And are you noticing now the residential side slowed down? I think just because renovations in general have slowed down in Hamilton.
Like I said, the larger renovations have not. So those that are looking to basically do a gut job and do a whole floor, or, they needed to, instead of buying a new home, they're like, let's put the money into what we have and change both the kitchen and the bathroom. So any large job, we're seeing that. So in some cases, upticking. But as far as like your smaller rentals, people are waiting. They're holding back, or they're finding different ways to or they're spending it in different places, right? That may not be plumbing related, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm biased, but there's something good about when everything works well and knowing that if something goes wrong, like that peace of mind, if something goes wrong, I'm covered.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like whether, I'm going to get the part for sure. So in most cases, the suppliers or the manufacturers will ship it directly to your house. So you let whoever you bought, like in our case, if you purchase from Emco, we do it for anyone, to be honest. I'll be frank with you. We're not going to be like, oh, you didn't buy from us, we're not going to help you. Now, if we can't help you, we'll help you, right? And we'll let anyone, any brand, including Gerber, like, listen, this is what's going on. Like, yeah, give us the address, ship it, done. Now, you still have to install it and figure that piece out, but usually a cartridge.
Just don't call Steve to install it, though.
No, that's not what you want.
Like, so
I mean, you'll be coming back for the whole thing.
I think there's an issue with my Gerber toilet here. Who will put the flapper in? Steve. Okay, that's the problem right there.
You're like the least handiest Italian out there, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'd say, I don't know why, to be honest. I never got into it.
Yeah.
And luckily, believe it or not, my wife is handy.
Yeah?
She loves getting in there. And it's like, listen, who am I to block her, stop her from doing these things, right? So I'm trying.
Yeah. My wife's kind of like that, but she is the queen of like starting the project.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And then, okay, now hire somebody to finish it, Justin. Okay.
Yeah. I got it going.
Yeah, like, oh, she had the vision was there. And then I guess at some point the motivation just
drops.
Tipped off, right?
It's tough. Like for me, growing up, it was, I've got two brothers and everyone kind of had their strengths and being overly handy and helping out wasn't something that I was, wasn't the first thing on my list to go and try to figure something out in a house, right? But home ownership now, YouTube has been actually extremely handy for this. I've taken apart my washing machine, my dryer. I've taken apart bathroom fans. I've done some very basic rudimentary plumbing. I've done some HVAC. And you feel good about it afterwards, especially when it doesn't blow up. You feel great when, nothing explodes in front of you and you turn on the light and it's like, okay, we're okay. But I think, just to your point too, I kind of wish that I was a bit more hands-on. But I also know my own limitations. I don't think I tackle a full project. I mean, I can change a flapper out in a toilet. I can change out a toilet. I could maybe do some mod plumbing. But that's probably where it would kind of end. I'm a typical Italian. I like to be outside. I like cutting the grass. Yeah. I like, planting my garden and watering my driveway. That's my go-to. Yes.
I've got to keep that driveway clean.
It's got to be pristine.
Yeah.
Pristine.
I got really into the gardening last year. It was the first time we ever had a garden, like somewhere to do it in a property. So so I love it though. Being out there, little tomato plants. We got a little zucchini this year, some eggplant. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So everybody can see, Justin in his backyard. They're listening to some Pavarotti, some nice, beautiful Italian opera sound in his backyard. He's got his grapevines over him. He's picking his beans and he's got the tomatoes. Grass is like meticulous. That's the one thing too I love to do. I love having
grass,
perfect lawn.
It's a guy thing.
I hire somebody to cut mine.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to cut it, honest. And it's the greatest feeling in the world when I'm sitting there having a coffee in the morning and I'm seeing 3 guys out there cutting the grass. And then I'm just like,
flex.
Oh, this is great. And then I could just walk out and people come over and they're like, your grass is so nice. And I'm like, thanks.
Thanks. I paid for that.
No problem, right? And you know what? I can just enjoy it because I used to like cutting grass. And then at some point, it's just, I don't know if it's just my schedule got too busy because I'm just 7 days a week. It's hard to find time to do it consistently. Like sometimes I would let it overgrow just because I couldn't get around to it, then rain or whatever excuse.
But I agree. But that's the whole point, right? What's the word? Like, you got to work out your time, man.
Mhm.
Time is.
If you enjoy certain things,
Yeah.
you'll make time to do them. So if you enjoy gardening, you'll find time in your day
Yeah.
to tend to your tomato plants or plant your herbs, whatever it is. But if there's certain things where it's like, oh, I could do without it, and that gives me an extra 3 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It allows me to get out there and tend to the garden instead of trying to get that stupid string back into the whippersnipper when it like breaks and you're like, oh my God, and you're trying to
there's no
fix it.
I don't care whatever trimmer you buy. I don't care whoever sold you on a trimmer. Every trimmer that has that coils, that wire,
Yeah.
they're all
We've all been there.
yeah.
It's an hour.
What do you get back in and like doing this and fit again?
It's brutal. You're sweating out there. This thing is just brutal. It's just not working right. And then, you thought you had it aligned properly. You turn it on and it flies out. And yeah. So I mean, I guess you could see why you hired somebody.
Yeah.
The 3 guys, while you're having your morning coffee there in your robe, like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's good. I always call him my staff because he was like last year. I'm like, oh, the staff's here.
Do you have irrigation? Like, is there
No, not yet, but I want to do that. I'm gonna do a little backyard reno, and we got the house 2 years ago, so we spent last summer in it. We're gonna spend this summer in it just to make sure like what we want to do to it before we spend the money. But I got a few ideas. But definitely a
you're forever home. Like, you want to be here?
It's so hard to say because yes, but maybe not. I don't know. I could see at least 10 years here to 15 years, but my business is on a pretty upward trajectory as well. So just with the growth. So I mean, where I could be in 5 years, 10 years, maybe another move. Ideally though, I'd like to start working towards getting something in Italy is the goal. Working on getting the citizenship through the descendancy. And then I want to have, like, I was initially thinking Florida, but now all this crazy stuff's happening. And I'd rather, go to Italy.
You can play shuffleboard in Italy too if you really wanted to.
Well, I have this theory.
You make it. Yeah, you pioneer it. The Judson Little brought shuffleboard.
Yeah, you were there. What if
Yeah.
We can bring you over.
Yeah.
See what happens, man. You'd be surprised.
Shuffleboard courts everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
On the beach there. I know Steve was there with his family vacation. He was like, Justin Little. He built that.
Yeah. So you're from Italy. Are you a Speedo guy?
I was.
Yeah.
Obviously, but once you move here, it's funny, eh? Like, you get judged on that so hard.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. He's judging you right now.
I can't wait to get over there this summer, and it's probably a couple
Are you a Speedo guy?
No, but I might in Italy. We'll see.
Dynamically speaking, it's way better. If you're
What do you do if you're running?
no, you're swimming. Are you not swimming?
Yeah, but like I'm not doing laps in the ocean.
You got a better tan.
Yeah, it's the tan. For me, it would be the tan.
The tan.
Yeah.
The swimming. You're out there just flying. You get a little exercise on the beach. It's a full, and then you build that appetite. You have a nice meal. Come on, you gotta do Italian style.
Yeah.
You're gonna look good at it too.
Yeah. You just got that tan. Everything looks good. Everything looks like a six pack when you're tan. So it doesn't matter what your belly's doing. When you're tan, you just look great.
That's true because the Speedos are so tight that your body can't sit on the lip of your your shorts, your swim shorts there. So that's true. Yeah. I don't know. The Speedo thing for me, I just I don't think I could pull it off.
I think it's all up there next summer. You'll see. You'll buy into it. Yeah. You'll be surrounded. You'll be the odd man out. You're like, what does this guy do?
Yeah.
Look, was an idiot.
Yeah, who's the thing is wearing short underwear?
Do you guys use the word chooch in Italy?
So yeah, your chucho is donkey, right?
Okay, I didn't know that.
So yeah, chucho is a donkey. And so the chooch.
So that's our slang on it?
Yeah.
Chuccio is the original?
Yeah, chucho is the original. Chooch, no, it's like dialect. Everyone gets cut when it's dialect, right?
Yeah.
Everything, chop it up nicely and make it nice and fast. But yeah, there's a bunch of chooch out there for sure.
Nice.
But to your point, yeah, if everyone's wearing a Speedo, I would stand out.
You would, for sure. That's because I also, part of the reason I want to go back to Italy, I have this theory about our grandparents. Like, my grandparents came here for better life. Is it your grandparents or your parents that came?
Grandparents on both sides that came here. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the theory was they came over to get a better life because there wasn't many opportunities over there. Now we as the other, now I'm second generation here, able to have that good life. Now maybe it was meant to bring it back home, let's go back. Right? We came to Canada. We did it.
A lot of people feel
Let's
that
go.
way.
Back to the lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think actually post COVID, a lot of people, you had a lot of time to yourself thinking about, where can I go? What can I do? And people, a lot of jobs now offer that remote opportunity. So if you're not living in, you're not going to an office Monday to Friday, you can basically be wherever.
You know, I watch these TikTok videos of people who have left the U.S. or Canada and they moved, you know, to somewhere in Europe. And I mean,
It's doable.
It's doable. If anything, like if you were to sell a home here and move to Italy, now there's certain pockets, there's certain major city centers where it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
But like, you know, if I sold my house today and moved to an area in Calabria where my family's from, I could live pretty comfortably for the rest of my life. And, you know, and have a very, you know, more of a simpler career and just kind of enjoy. We're primed differently here in North America. We live to work and we want more. We always want to have a lot more than really we need. Which is funny because I know when I asked you the question was, is your forever home? And the thing is, we associate sometimes success with if I can get to a certain point, how do I have my success here and am I living here? Am I driving a certain vehicle? Am I wearing a certain, like are you at a certain level that competes with what you're trying to do? Whereas I find in Europe, that's not really the case. Material items, I would say everyone tries to dress well. I'm sure they take pride in, you know, owning a certain vehicle, but their homes, pretty well majority, at least where I saw even in the city centers, a lot of them are apartment style, small kitchens, small areas, nothing, you know, we think about, I mean, I've got a garage, I've got a shed, I've got a basement full of storage of toys for the kids. I've got a million things. And it's just not a thing that holding on to so many, you know, material items. It's just not the focus. The focus is being surrounded by people, making memories. You know, in the evenings, think about, our winters are obviously a bit too cold, but, you know, getting out after a late dinner, going for a walk for 3 hours, going into a piazza, having a coffee, having something to drink, a gelato there. It's, you know, it's a different world. We just don't have that. We don't have that here.
One way I heard it described was, and you're going to know about, like, I don't know, you're probably the best to talk about it because you were there for half your life. But you know, in Europe, they say that you have a house and it's just somewhere to sleep. Your life takes place outside of your house, whether it's meeting people with coffee, eating, going out, walking, all that kind of stuff. Whereas in North America, we get houses so we don't have to leave them. Like we put like state of the art like TVs, you're putting like theaters in your house, like the sound, you're basically turning your house into a place that you don't leave. That's kind of what everybody kind of aims for, right? It's different.
Even, you know, these backyard oases, I've seen some where it's like, why would you go on vacation? Everything is controlled. You can swim in the winter time. You've got all these different gazebos, outdoor grills, seating areas, TV. Like there's some people who they just take it to that next level, which is beautiful. It's great, but it's the opposite of what you're saying there on the European side. They don't spend that kind of money.
How are the differences for you?
The difference is also there's so many places to go to, right? The goal is to go explore those places, whether it's funny here, people commute, 45 minutes and it's probably an average commute, 45. I'm sure people do more than that. 45 minutes in Italy, you're going across regions. You know what I mean? You go from, it was fun. I was thinking about it, how, for like in 4 hours, you go across half the country. Wow. You go from Milan, you go to Florence, or from Milan, Milan to Venice is about 3 hours. People would sometimes do that in a day. And that's a hell of a trip. And between that, there's so much, right? And so, it's funny you said my parents just, because they go back and forth a little bit, and they're never home. They meet up here. They meet up. My dad was meeting up with his siblings, having breakfast here, and then they go for gelato there, and then they go this, and it's like they're never home. And the whole size of the house, there's no other options. So there's, especially in those more highly dense areas, like you don't have the ability to get a bigger home. But people don't really, like I said, they're used to it, right? It's meant to be like, as long as you got a functioning kitchen and a place to host a bunch of people, like eating is the only thing that you're going to be like bringing people in. There's no like, oh, let's go, watch a movie. None of it does really happen, or play video games. And I'm sure the young ones do it, but you know what I mean? As you get older, like people want to go to places, right? And there's a lot going on again, because everything's so dense. You can walk and there's something happening down the street. Or you take a car and there's something going on in 5 minutes. Here, sometimes you got to drive. Like, for instance, for us, if I go to Toronto, like, man, like we're in our 30s, I can barely make it. Like, you got to think, Can't do it. I got to think of what time do I get back? I got to take the train. The next day, I got this thing. I don't know, man. It's like,
It's different.
It's like, oh, how many drinks? Ooh, it's like
Leafs game, and I was like there, and I'm thinking, is this thing gonna get over soon? Like by the time I get home, this will be a disaster.
It's
like you're coordinating your bedtime. Like, hey, how long are you gonna?
an
hour here, or and then it's different, And you think about Italy, and food is always at the center. Everyone always places food at the center of that culture. But when you go to a lot of these homes, you look at their kitchens. They're a fraction of the size of some of our, what we consider to be a necessity. We've got massive kitchens, pantries, massive islands. When I was younger, we visited with some relatives in the south, and they were making, trays of lasagna, homemade gnocchi, like just beautiful meals that you think you need for, 4 kitchens to create something like this. And they've got a small kitchen. They've got a small Phrygian stove, Phrygian stove. The fridge is very much more like more of a slender piece, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, we're eating like kings and queens here, but when we go back home, we have an expectation of to make this type of meal, we have to have 4 times the amount of space, and we need to go to Costco and get a big deep freezer full of all of our meats and our everything to have there. And there, I mean, I laughed. My aunt would yell across from the balcony to the supermarket down below.
Yeah, there you go.
To get her order ready, and they would buy fresh every day. Today, if you have to go to the grocery store every day, you drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, you can't. There's no time.
There's no time.
I'm a 4-minute drive to the Fortinos on the Central. I love Fortinos. It's like my piazza, and
it is nice.
But still, sometimes I'm like, I got to drive over there. It's 4 minutes, right? It's still even that. It's different. It's a different. And then we have a winters, which you don't want to have sometimes. It's just
no, you don't. And it's and when we had winter like this, that now basically creeped up into spring. And it was 6 degrees last weekend, and now we finally have some heat. We're gonna get, it's not. We don't have, I think, that same kind of climate now. You find the next 3-4 months, everyone's gonna try to get as much as they can done.
Absolutely.
Because then it's lockdown for 6 to 8 months. It's brutal, right?
Yeah.
So I got that house in Italy.
Yeah.
Maybe you start a business or real estate out there for, a lot of people do it for like people like yourself. There's going to be a market for individuals that are looking to do exactly what you plan on doing, and they need someone that knows both sides they can trust. And you never know, right?
So
now it's a market. In Italy, what? I was surprised. I left Italy thinking, they're falling behind. I'm picking the winner, and then I'm looking at certain like analysis on like things like the GDP and all that. Italy's been on fire in some cases. I'm like, what is going on? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so things are moving there too. It's not like it's still a G7. We always think about it like they're like behind. They don't know what they're doing. But it's still a G7 country. There's still a lot of things that are happening out there. So for someone moving there, you're not going to be in the. It's not a third world country. Right? You have access to services. And beyond the food and the lifestyle, there's a lot there to be had. I'm not just pitching Italy here, but it's just something to think about.
Yeah,
it is nice. I mean, my parents were in Tropea last year. Tropea is beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's like a painting. My goal is to get out there when my kids are a little bit older. But they took a look to see what an average condo cost out there. 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. Nothing crazy, but enough to kind of hang your hat and you can get something in pristine condition for, I think, between 100 to 130,000 euro.
Yeah.
In the city center. And interestingly enough, they actually have companies there that are property management companies that'll bring in investors from abroad to purchase these places, and then they'll have almost like an Airbnb setup where they rent it out throughout the year. You block off the weeks that you want to be able to attend, and they manage it for you there. They're really trying to encourage, I think, a lot of investment in Italy post-COVID. But I did hear that Italy is one of the countries in the world where their real estate doesn't always tend to go up. It tends to kind of stay flat or go down. So it's not something where you're going to invest to say, I'm going to make a ton of money in 20 years' time. But you know that in 20 years' time, you probably won't lose, but you've got a space where you can enjoy yourself. Or you can rent it out to other folks to kind of supplement some of that income there. Because I'm sure you can rent it out and make some pretty decent returns.
So that's another North American mentality, is property as income investment tools, where even like 20, 30 years ago, it was like a home. You bought a home because you needed one for your family.
Right.
But during the pandemic and stuff, it became a commodity, basically. People were commoditizing housing, and it was just a disaster. Yeah, but I feel like it's not the expectation in Europe is to go and buy something and it's going to go, right? Like, I would like to get something multi-unit, a few units, live in one, Airbnb the others, right? And then just have the building. But it's all stuff down the road we got to look into. I feel like we could talk about this all day.
But finding spots, we'll come down to that Airbnb.
We'll do another podcast. We'll do it
yeah. So we all went to Italy, and we're now selling everything that we have here.
We're bringing our toys with us, though. Actually, they're all Wahong over there.
They are, yeah.
Is that a good bringer?
Oh, it's
No, it's a style.
So instead of having your bowl on sitting on the floor, they're wall hung. They're actually
wall hung.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that was your accent coming through. I thought that was a brand. I thought it was a brand. They're all wall hung.
Yeah, where are they from, eh? Wall hung.
Wall hung.
The one thing I loved as a kid going there was the bidets.
Still love it. I have one in my house. It's changed.
You have the cedar at bidet.
It's a seed.
That still works.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they're standard. So in Italy, bidets are standard in every home, but you don't get to choose. They're coming with it. Either you rip it out, or it's there, right? And it's funny. It's the Italians and the Japanese love that stuff too, right? And that's Toto. That's where they're from. But it's for North America, not for.
Well, it's a cultural piece that you're finding. Even the new wave of immigrants coming into Canada, that's something that they like to use as well too. Whether it's a bidet or an actual bidet. And you'll even see some of these little gadget things that come up on as an attachment to your water line there. It's freezing cold water, mind you. But if you don't want to spend the money to get something heated,
my phone now, my ads are going to be blown up with toilets and bidets and faucets from this conversation. And
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's all going to go smart toilets.
But I'm going to make sure I get a Gerber, and I'm going to make sure I get it from Emco.
Yeah, that's it, right.
That's it. You're going to let us know about the clear and carry afterwards. Like, I tested it.
Buddy, I weighed out 200 grams. I weighed out 200 grams of chicken for lunch, and I can tell you 1,000 grams is a lot.
Yeah, 1,000. I think seriously, whenever they say 1,000 grams, anybody is like, has that ever happened? I'm like, it's like you need to go to the hospital if that's what's happening to you. It's very dangerous.
All right, well, we're coming up out of time. I appreciate you guys. That flew by. This is the quickest one. Maybe it's because we had 2 guests on it. I don't know. It was good.
We just keep talking. I can keep going for another hour. Yeah, let's go. Yeah,
just warming up.
Just starting up, guys. I got like 10 categories I'm about to talk.
Yeah, part 2 on toilets.
That's it. I love it. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy schedules to come on. That's awesome. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you again next week.